Okay, guys, we're going to go ahead and get started. If any of you do have a group of people viewing this, can you please just put that in the chat box? I am keeping track of the individuals attending the sessions for Melinda, so please add that into the chat box so I can add your names to the session. We are going to go ahead and get started. I have built in a couple of places within the presentation, and I shouldn't say presentation, I like to have things organized, so instead of just doing a plain agenda, this is kind of my agenda with some visuals. But if you have any questions, like I said, I do have some spots within to ask questions, but if you want to just go ahead and put them in the chat box, I will get to those questions at the end. And then as I've done the past few weeks, I will put the questions in a question and answer document and have that available to you hopefully by the end of the day, although I do have many calls scheduled today, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to get to it, but I certainly will try. So let's go ahead and get started. So again, welcome to our third VR Youth Tech TA, which stands for Technical Assistance Session. I really do apologize for the issues that we had last week with sound. I still don't know what happened. Even though I checked into it, no one can give me any answers, but we'll keep our fingers crossed that we don't have any of those issues again this week. I am happy to acknowledge Beverly Anderson from Area 1 who participated in her first STAR orientation. I received an email from her this week, a call from her this week, and then I did email her supervisor letting him know just how she did successfully do this presentation, and I want to thank her for letting me know. She did have 9 participants at her presentation, and she believes 6 of them are interested in the program, so this is really exciting. I am interested in knowing if anyone else has had the opportunity to do a STAR presentation up to this point. And if you have, if you can please share that in the chat box, and then what I'll do is I will give you the microphone, if you will, to then be able to share that with everyone, because I think it's really important for us to be able to learn from each other. So if you'd like to talk about your experience, and Beverly, if you're on the call, and I don't have the participant list up, but if you're on the call and you'd like to share, I would love to hear or have you share your details with the group. I don't see any messages coming in, so that might just mean that people haven't had any yet. As I'm letting people or giving people time. I'll go ahead and continue. If anyone has any concerns or questions about the setup or the facilitation of the STAR orientation, if you haven't done one already, I encourage you to let me know about those concerns now, because I'm sure if you have them, other people do as well. So again, you can go ahead and put this in the chat box. But if you have not started setting up your orientations, especially with the school districts that have already gotten on board, and we do have some others I want to talk to you about later on, I do encourage you to begin contacting the schools to see about getting those set up. The sooner we get that information out, the better it's going to be. And if you do have any issues, please let me know. I am in the process of reaching out to all of the schools. I've done quite a few already, so if you email me separately, I can certainly let you know which ones I have been in contact with. And again, if you haven't done anything with these presentations yet, but you do, I encourage you to either email me or call me and let me know what you've done so I can share those celebrations with your colleagues, as well as give you an opportunity to talk about your experiences again so we can learn from each other. Let me go back and look and see if they're... Okay, so we have one question, and the question is, do charter schools and or private schools send STAR referrals through rehabworks.org? Okay, as a reminder, all charter schools function underneath a public school. So if there are referrals from a charter school, they will need to go through the public school. That is the same for private schools as well. However, with private schools, they are given the option to identify a point of contact for that private school. And as I've mentioned in the last couple of sessions, we haven't been really doing a lot of intentional outreach to the private schools, and the reason for that is because by law we need to focus on, and I shouldn't say focus on, but we need to prioritize our work with the public schools, and since charter schools fall under those public schools, it's the charter schools as well. But in the meetings that we've had, that I've had with school districts, as well as all the follow-up phone calls, they've been mainly with the public schools and those few charter schools that are identified on the DOE website. Once we get all of this underway, then I will be focusing on other charter schools, and then again, the private schools will be kind of our last priority. However, having said that, if there are private schools that are made aware, would like information, would like to participate, they have been invited. And when I say they've been invited, there's been a lot of people, especially providers, who have asked about getting these private schools involved, and I've shared with them that if they would like to share the information with the private schools, they can call me. So I'm sorry that's kind of a long-winded explanation, but so STAR referrals for charter schools definitely go through the public school. Private school referrals can also go through the public schools, but can come through the private schools if they contact me to set up an account. All right. Okay, so I have a question. Can you discuss Area 5 referrals update, especially Broward County? Well, I really can't talk too much about Broward County as of right now. We do have a phone call scheduled for October 29th. I know there are some issues, some questions, and I really believe it all stems around misunderstanding. So in speaking on behalf of Broward, as I said, we're in the process of getting that straightened out. The referral process for every area is going to be the same. All referrals for STAR will need to go through the school districts. By law, they have to. Under WIOA, we need to have students referred for the program who are students with disabilities. Identified by the school would be having a 504 or IEP. VR youth techs do not have the qualifications to make an identifier as far as whether a student is or is not a student with a disability. So this kind of barrier is eliminated by the school districts making this identification. So although Broward needs to be engaged in this conversation, please understand that it is going to have to be the same referral process no matter where we go and who we work with. As far as, the the work that we do with the schools, the work that we do with helping them to understand this, that is where I'm working really hard to do that. As far as local levels, I think where I ask the VR youth techs to kind of get involved with this is helping their local level contacts become comfortable with that referral process, but I believe it's something that needs to go through top level as well as the local level, and so that everyone is receiving the same information. So again, the referrals process is going to stay the same exact way. School districts will be having that school district representative, and as a reminder, and as I've shared this with school districts every time I talk with them, it can be anybody within the district except for TPCA employment specialists. So it can be the teacher, ESC teacher, it can be a paraprofessional, it can be a teacher's assistant, it can be a secretary, it can be a guidance counselor, it can be a front office administrative assistant. Anybody can enter these referrals, and I think that's one of the concerns that we've had, is that school districts just don't understand who will be making these or who can make these, and that's again what I'm doing in my TA, my technical assistance calls to them. So thanks very much for that question. Hopefully I answered that for you. Another question, has any referrals been received yet from any area? Actually, I think we have had a couple, but they're, again, slow coming in, and that's because of the information not getting out there, I guess, well enough to the districts. We have had additional school districts identify school district representatives, which is definitely a step in the right direction. I do plan on continuing those calls with the districts so that we can get these referrals in, up and running. I kind of had a feeling that it was going to probably take until Christmas break before we started seeing a good influx of referrals, so we're going to keep working on that. Another question, I apologize if you've already answered this. I have had several school ESE teachers in Pasco County say they haven't received passcodes to access STAR and put in referrals. Are we going to be giving them this information, or will the district be giving them this information? As a reminder, it is the school district point of contact who will be identifying the individuals making the referrals. So ESE teachers may not necessarily be the people making the referrals. I can't look. Give me a second. I'm going to look to see if I can find my Excel and see who I have for Pasco. So Pasco right now does not have any school district representatives. However, I have been in contact with both Melissa Musselwhite, who is the ESE director, as well as Laura Drew, and a couple other teachers. In fact, there was one teacher that I spoke with, or I'm not even sure she was a teacher, but someone I spoke with yesterday, helping them to understand the process. So again, it's just, you know, helping them to understand what it is that they need to do. But when I did speak with Melissa as well as Laura, I did explain that they are the ones who will be making the determination as to who these school district representatives will be. And they seem to understand that after I shared that with them. So thank you for that question. Let's see, do I have any others? Will there be additional training for school district representatives? Yes, so what I've done is all of the districts that I've called, if they didn't answer or if they weren't available, I did send them the links to the trainings that we did as kind of like a next step. I will be following up by doing an additional webinar for them, but what I need to do is make sure that I've contacted every school district already. I want to make sure that when we do have the next one, you know, that we have more than just the few 11 schools participate that we had before. I mean, obviously we had a lot of VR staff, but we didn't have the turnout like I had hoped for. So yes, there will be another opportunity for school districts to be able to view an additional presentation and then have an opportunity to answer any questions for them. Volusia County is unsure how to complete referrals at this time. Who can they contact? So they should, Kim, they should contact me. Volusia is not one of the schools that I've contacted yet. As you might have seen from my list here, let me put this over here so you guys can see it. Whoops, where did it go? So far, I've called and left messages and spoke to up through Polk. So I've got Putnam through the rest of the charter schools to call, and I'm going to do my best to get to them today, although I'm not sure because I have some other calls that are already scheduled. But if I don't get to them today, I'll start next week. I will tell you that many school districts are on break next week for the full week, lucky them. So we'll do what we can to see about getting in touch with them. And for those who are off, I'll have to wait, obviously, until after we get back from break to reach out to them. Thank you for that question. Okay, Volusia and Flagler. So again, Volusia has not been contacted yet, but Flagler has. So whether it be they have, let me look at Flagler and see what we have for them. So for Flagler, yeah, Timothy King is the ESC director. I did actually speak with him. He said he was not able to participate in the webinar, so I did send him those materials, and I shared that I would follow up with him after Thanksgiving. So he actually has been, I had the fortunate opportunity to speak with him. Another question. I understand that another tech has to create an authorization. When the authorization comes back from the vendor with the report and sign, who approves this? This happens the same way, people, as it does with the traditional VR students. So the VR youth tech creates the, they put in the service request. Another VR tech within the office does generate the authorizations and the referrals, and then when they come back, it gets approved by your supervisor. This is the same process as you've been following now. Nothing has changed as far as that goes. Beverly asks, who is the school district representative for Gulf? The school district representative for Gulf is Linda, I can't pronounce her last name, T-S-C-H-U-D-I. Martha actually identified her just yesterday, so she has that information. So what I would recommend is that you get in touch with Linda to see about scheduling those informational sessions, and hopefully she'll start making some referrals shortly. Okay, another question. At this late time in the school year, has a decision been made to have seniors be serviced in RIMS so the IPE can be completed prior to graduation next year? You know, we can't make that decision. If students want to go through STAR, they are more than welcome to go through STAR. If they want to go through the traditional VR process, they go through the traditional VR process. And as a reminder, it's our main focus to get student services no matter which way. But if you have those students who are going to need those additional services, you know, that they would benefit from going through the system, obviously I would make the recommendation that they do go through the VR eligibility process. So whether that be seniors or juniors, again, we're not looking at grade level, we're looking at the ages that we can serve, which is 15 through 21. The other thing to think about too is, and I believe, actually, I'm not sure if you actually heard this in the presentation last week now that I think about it, but there was an email that came out from Julie Cates that said if a student has not participated in STAR, but they are interested in receiving pre-employment transition services and they're in college already, they will have to go through the VR pathway. Thinking about, though, those students who are in STAR now, so, or say they will be in STAR prior to graduation, if they are already in our system under STAR, they can continue those services until they turn 22, whether they are going the post-secondary route or they're going in employment. So that is new because we were originally under the assumption that those services would end as soon as they exited high school, but they can continue now up through the age of 22. Again, the only difference is if they did not participate in STAR prior to exiting high school, they're now in post-secondary education and they want to access those pre-employment transition services, they will need to go through the application process. I hope that answered your question. I scheduled with Flagler County for a presentation. Excellent. Thank you, Kim, very much. If you need any help, please let me know. The school district representative for Hernando. Hernando, I don't have anyone identified yet. Kathy I left a voicemail for her and I followed up with an email to her and I haven't heard back. So again, she's going to be one of the people that I reach out to if I don't hear back from her after Thanksgiving. So the VR Youth Tech cannot submit the authorization payment. The VR Tech that created the authorization submits it for payment. Just wanting to be clear. Yeah, Tammy, I don't know a lot of, I hate to say this, but I don't know a lot about that whole end of the thing. But what I've been told is, however it happens normally would happen in this case. So my limited scope of information is the VR Youth Tech creates the service request. The VR Tech, who would normally generate the authorizations, generates the authorizations, and then once it comes back, then the VR supervisor approves it. So that is the process. I will submit any kinds of these questions to our IT people just to make sure that I have not misspoken. But again, that's all I get told over and over again is that process state is the same. It's the exact same, whether it's STAR services or whether it's services for VR customers. Okay. WIOA states that STAR must be offered to students with disabilities from 15 through 21. However, I understand that we should try to steer juniors and seniors to VR via the traditional route. If my understanding is correct, would you please explain this rationale? Again, that is not something that is necessarily true. I do know that there was a district that was thinking that to be kind of a best case scenario in order to kind of prioritize the youth that they work with. We need to keep in mind, though, people, that WIOA, remember, WIOA is the big umbrella, and what WIOA tells us is that we have to provide pre-employment transition services to youth with disabilities. VR has the two pathways that allow us to do that now, or the two ways that students can access these. They can access them through the VR route, where they become, customers, application and eligibility, or they can access them through STAR. Our frame, if you will, as far as the students is the 15 through 21. It's not grade level, it's not freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, it's 15 through 21. So if you have students who are coming into the system, we need to be asking them and talking with them as far as, what do you need? Do you need those basic pre-employment transition services? If you just need those basic services because you are self-directed, because you are able to get to services and participate in these services without much assistance, then they are the STAR program student. If you know, or if there is an indication, or when you get the accommodations list back from the school district that gives you a sense or an idea that this student is going to need more than what STAR can provide, then you would recommend that student go through traditional VR, whether that student is 15 or whether that student is 18. It really needs to, you need to look at the student to make that determination. Clearly, when it comes to students who are, 18 years old getting ready to exit, you're going to want to think about what's in their best interest. If their employment goal is going to be something that requires them further education, and you kind of know that they have some significant need that would make them eligible, have them go the VR route. Definitely do that. If you're unsure, this is why I stated in our the first meeting we had, call me. You can also talk with your supervisor. You can talk with your fellow counselors. They know and have a good sense as far as what might be a good candidate for VR services, but we can certainly talk through that. Don't limit students just by their grade. Look at the student individually, and again, these services, whether VR route or STAR, are for 15 through 21. I hope that helps to answer that question. Thank you, Sal, for that. Tammy is asking, has Sumter County been contacted? Sumter has not. As I said, I've only gotten up to the P's, which is Polk, and I plan on Sumter will be one of the ones that I contact hopefully today or next week. So the ones I have not yet contacted is Putnam, St. John's, St. Lucie, Santa Rosa, Sarasota, Seminole, Sumter, Sewanee, Taylor, Union, Volusia, Wakulla, Walton, Washington. Florida Virtual Schools, I have been in contact with them. FSDB, I did send an email over to Andrea, so she and I are trying to set up a time to meet. And then as far as the other schools like the FAU Lab School, FSU Lab School, FAMU Lab School, UF Lab School, and Lake Wales Charter School, those have not been contacted yet. But as I said, I have a goal set, so we're going to try to get to those. Can we access these recorded sessions afterwards? I missed a portion of today's. Yes, of course. As I mentioned in the materials I sent you last week after our fiasco with the sound, all of these materials, as well as presentations, the PowerPoints, as well as the recorded sessions, are on our VR iNet. Let me see if I can show you. I did do a screenshot and put a screenshot in the last one, but maybe people didn't see it. Let me get up our VR iNet and I'll bring it over here on our screen. This is so cool that you can do this. I didn't know we could do this. So if you go to Bureaus and Field Services and scroll down to Transition Youth, you will see STAR here on the left-hand side. If you go to STAR, then you will see Meeting Resource Materials, Supplemental Pre-Employment Transition ETS. Transition, the TA session agendas are right here. So you'll notice that we have the actually paper agenda from last week, and then you have the training from last week, and then the session for today will be right underneath it. So I am trying to give you everything that you need and have it in one local place. Under here I also have, so that STAR participant request form is there, the presentation that I created for you guys for students and families in the STAR script is available. Let's see, supplemental pre-ES, okay. So this is the pre-ETS training for you guys. This is the one that I did that kind of gave you an explanation of all of the services. And then I also have the self-advocacy materials there. So I won't bother going through it all. At least you know where that is if you need to access it. So where did my presentation go? Okay, there we go. Let's see. In order to conduct STAR orientations, do we contact our school district representative in order to schedule the orientations, or is each unit assigned a particular list of schools? So what I am doing is in that spreadsheet I showed you, I am collecting the school district representatives. Once I have a list of, in fact I can do this today, the updated list, I can send this out to the VR youth techs that are in charge of that or responsible for that area. There are VR youth techs that are assigned to each school, and most times school district. So you will have that information, you will have the person that you need to contact. So for instance, Gregory Polk over in Area 3, he told me that he wants his VR youth tech to contact him directly to set these up. So I'll get that information out to everyone so that you have it. Well, as it comes in, I'll have that out to you. Cheryl, I will be meeting with Martin County School and St. Lucie County Schools next week. Excellent. So Cheryl, if you need any assistance, again, I'll be contacting them myself, but if you need any help, please let me know. Since the pre-employment services can be offered in RIMS as well, shouldn't we be trying to save time right now by enabling eligibility and plan development process to be completed timely, especially STAR is not active for Broward County yet? This is important time considering these logistics as we are awaiting STAR to be set up. Yeah, of course. I mean, if students want to go through the eligibility process, yeah, definitely do so. I mean, those we can actually do ourselves. We don't have to worry about the school district. So in Broward particularly, and again, I know that there's some issues and concerns there. If you have students who are interested, yeah, have them go through the VR route. Again, it's going to most likely benefit them in the long run. But if there are students that don't qualify, that aren't found eligible, those are the students then we would think about the STAR program. So I know it's not the best answer for Broward, but hopefully we'll get things straightened out on the 29th. But yeah, definitely encourage students that if are interested in those pre-employment transition services to apply. When will we be active in receiving school referrals? Well, we're active right now. So our system is up and running. School district representatives have their portal access. It's just waiting on them to actually start putting the referrals in. My guess is we are going to need to really do a good job of doing those presentations, those student and family presentations, because that is what's going to get the interest generated that then has the students going to the school district reps saying, hey, I want to apply. So we are all active, we are up and running, we're ready to go. It's now just working with the schools to get them to understand, and then us doing our part and getting out and doing the presentations to get the students and families interested. Okay, it looks as though we've come to the end of those questions. Let's go ahead on to our next slide. Last week, I introduced the STAR meeting script that you had asked me to develop for you. Unfortunately, as I said, we did experience those technical difficulties, so I had to end the session early before allowing time to answer questions. Hopefully you all had an opportunity to review the script, and I'd like to give you some time now to ask me any questions that you might have or provide any feedback that you might have on the script. So I'll give you a couple of minutes to answer any questions about the STAR meeting script. And I got a statement, I wasn't aware that we were to do the presentations already. Well, it's one of these things where if you can, great, that is why I created that presentation for you, so at least you would have something to start working with. If you haven't started them already, it's okay. We will just start from here. And if you are interested, Eileen, to know whether or not your school district has been contacted, you can certainly put in that district and I can let you know. But as soon as I have them on board, as I mentioned the last slide, I'll let you know who your contact should be so that you can actually get in there and schedule a presentation. So it's okay. Don't worry about it. So any questions on the meeting script that you have? When do you expect us to do presentations? Well, the presentation should be done at a time that is hopefully convenient for students and families. We can't take them out of school. We can't take students out of school, and I don't think you'd get parents then anyway. So if it's possible for you to do them after school, maybe work with your supervisor to do some adjusting of time. Maybe do some evening sessions if possible. I think that's when you're going to get the most students and most parents. Most students would be after school, and likely parents would be available in the evenings. So what I would do is just talk with your supervisor, see about flexing your time or at least changing your time around. And then when you contact the schools, just let them know when you would be available and ask them when they might have time for their staff to be available as well. Most likely they'd be available after school. Question, is the script also on INET? Yes, it is. So everything that I've developed for you guys and that I've shared with you is on INET. So it is there. Osceola County. All right, let me go back. Let's see, Osceola. Okay, so Osceola has been contacted. From what I talked to her secretary and Linda Schroeder, King's secretary, and she's in and out of the office, so she did get my message and she was going to be calling me today. So I'm hoping that I'm going to hear from her. And again, if I don't hear from her today, then I will contact her next week. So thank you for asking. But Osceola was one of the ones that were contacted. Can you show us one more time where to find the STAR scripts? Okay, so let me go back and put this over here. Okay, so it's under meeting, let me go back. Under STAR meeting resource materials, this first folder, and the script is the last one there, and I'll just bring it up so you can see it. Maybe. Oh, there it is. Oh, there you go. View. So this is the document, and again, as I mentioned last week, it goes through all of the important and main key pieces of what you need to cover with the student. I have gone in and I've given you like things like this. Are directions not to read to the student, but just so you know, so anytime you see anything that are in these marks here, this is more for you than for the student. But I give you everything step by step, and hopefully, you know, it provides you enough information to begin to feel comfortable having these conversations with students. And as I mentioned last time, you're more than welcome to change them, you know, to make them fit your style, your voice. We want to make it something that you are comfortable with. Thank you for that question. I currently have 2 appointments set up for December with 2 different schools. I am taking counselors with me as well so that the ESC teachers and chairs can get the full scope of services that can be provided. Is this okay to do? Of course it is. Yes, that would be wonderful. And you know, having these meetings, if your unit supervisors are setting up meetings to discuss STAR, this is not the parent meetings, but to discuss STAR or provide local level TA technical assistance, I highly encourage the VR youth techs to go along with them so that they can meet, you can meet the school district staff and they can meet you, so they've got that, you know, name to go along with the face. That would be excellent. But if you wanted to also talk about other services as far as the VR traditional pathway, it's not something that they haven't heard already, so the more times they hear it, the better. Yes, 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 definitely. Okay, it looks like we have no more questions, so we'll go ahead and go on. Okay, so the STAR participant service request form was also something that I shared with you last week, but again, we got cut short. So I'm interested to see if anyone has any questions about the form that I did send information on last week. Keep in mind that this is an optional form. It was designed to give you a way to record the services and the providers that the students are requesting. So are there any questions about the service request form? Hopefully you find it helpful. Because I know with me being a teacher going through IEP meetings, we did have to keep notes. So instead of having a narrative, this is just something kind of a bullet point that I thought would be helpful. But again, you don't have to use it if you don't want, or you can feel free to change it, modify it if you wish. Well, it doesn't look like there's any questions on that. Great. Okay, so self-advocacy training. As an update, Kirk and I had a meeting with IT about the status of self-advocacy just yesterday. It has gone through governance and has been approved as a priority, which I'm very excited about. The services and fee codes have been provided and the business rules have been established. We will have 4 services and 8 fee codes. Unfortunately, we were not given a date as to when this could be expected to go live. Yep, you know how that goes. But I think what I was able to determine was that this will not be going live for January 1st as I had hoped. But I will definitely keep you posted. I know IT is working on it, and now that it's been given a priority, I think things will move a little bit quicker. But it's not going to be done for when I hope. So I will definitely keep you posted. And as a reminder, I will be doing training with our providers on self-advocacy, and we will be doing a training with you specifically on self-advocacy so you understand the ins and outs and so on and so forth. I will share with you that self-advocacy training is not only going to be a pre-employment transition service for youth, it will be also available for adults, which again I'm really excited about because we know that a lot of our adult customers need this kind of assistance as well. So it will be a service that runs the full gamut from youth all the way up to adult. All right, let's see if we have any questions. Can you provide a list of providers for each service? Okay, so what I mentioned about providers last time, and actually I think the time before, is each area has their own list of providers, and these providers can, I would talk with your supervisor. From what I've been told, there is actually a hard copy list at each office. If there is not one at your specific office, your unit supervisor will know where to get that from. You also have contract liaisons in your areas that would be able to provide you a list of providers for services. In thinking about those service providers, when they put in their application to be a VR provider, they have certain qualifications in order to provide those different services. So there should be, again, I say should be, but this list that you have should identify the services that they can provide. If you're unsure of that list, talk with your supervisor, talk with your contract liaison. I don't have that information, but your area and units should. I kind of have asked if it would be possible to develop a database where all of these providers are listed in the services, and I kind of got looked at like I had 12 heads, because that would just require more work that people just don't have time to do. So their suggestion over in contracts was for you to ask your supervisors and contract liaison. So I kind of would like to have that information as well. And I do know Area 4 has theirs up on their VRINet that can be accessed. I'm not sure about the other areas, but again, I'm sure if you talk with your unit supervisors, that can be something they can direct you to if it is on there. Next one is, who will be doing the self-advocacy training for the students, the STAR techs, or the providers? No, all of the training, so the pre-employment transition services, the PPT training, and the self-advocacy training is done by providers. The course for self-advocacy it's a two-part course. The first course is 20 hours, the second course is 25 hours, and then there will be extension activities that will be available to youth who are going through the full VR process. That is very time consuming, and there's a lot of individual work that will need to be done as far as the products that are created. So to make a long story short, it will be providers doing the training. Thank you, Lori, for that question. Okay, let's go on. So providers, speaking about providers, please remind your providers to share program and service brochures and flyers with you so that you have something to give students and families when you meet with them. I have been in contact with a number of providers who have called and asked who our school district representatives are, and I've asked why they want to know that, and they said they want to provide materials to the school. I said no, 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 no. In their training, I told them they should not be contacting schools. As you know, school districts have enough to do, and we're asking them to do these STAR referrals, you know, on our portal. So asking them or expecting them to meet with providers is absolutely unacceptable. So I did share this in the training, and I have shared this with the individuals who I've spoken to, but obviously I don't know who they all are, so I'm not calling them directly. But if you have contact with your providers, please remind them that they are not to make contact with the schools, that you will be the person who will be providing this information to students and helping them make an informed decision about the provider for the service. It's really important. You know, I've been talking to school districts about the STAR referral as being a streamlined process, and we don't really want to complicate anything for them. Where I have said that providers can contact schools is if they're looking to partner with them to offer these pre-placement trainings, or when we get to self-advocacy trainings at the school campus in a classroom after school, evenings, weekends, during breaks, whatever. So if there is a case where they're looking to find a classroom that can be used after school, sure, we encourage them to talk with a school, but not to provide information. In fact, a couple of providers have actually sent flyers and brochures, or to me, and I have sent them out to the supervisors so that you have them. But then as a follow-up, I did recommend to the providers to contact you directly because it's important for them to know who their primary contact is for the office. But I will continue to forward materials as I get them. But again, just when you talk with your providers, ask them for these materials. Are there any questions about providers, this slide here, or what the expectation is with providers? If not, I'll go ahead and continue. Okay, I'd like to thank you all for sending me the unit information that was requested. I'm still missing a couple of units for a few VR youth techs, but what I'll do is after this call I will follow up with those individual supervisors with an email. Actually, I can go ahead and read off. No, I won't bother reading off the names because there's more than I need to read off. So I'll go ahead and send that out. Supervisors, please keep in mind that if there is someone missing from the list or there's someone new who's going to be added, you will need to complete that IT user form. And on this slide, again, I've given you that address to the form. It does need to be sent over to, oh my gosh, I forgot her name. Oh, Susie. Oh my goodness, how shame on me. That form does need to be sent over to Susie Whitmore for processing. If you don't have that person right now, that's okay, but whenever you do get a person or need to add a person, please make sure you get that submitted. I don't know the time frame on how long it takes, but having that time available to get that information over there is probably best. Also, I will be adding all of the people who are not yet on the STAR email user group, and I'm looking to change that. I'm not sure if any of you have noticed, but some people use STAR Techs and some people are, well, I use VR Youth Techs. The name that we're going with is VR Youth Techs, and we want to try to make that consistent. We don't have STAR Techs, we have VR Youth Techs. Unfortunately, when it comes to the email account that was created and I've been told can't be changed. So if we can get consistent by calling all of us VR Youth Techs, that would be great. We want to make sure that the school districts are hearing the same things from local level as well as from state level, because when I talk to them I am talking about VR Youth Techs and I don't want to get them confused. So if you could do that, I would really appreciate it. Okay, let's keep going. So I've been asked a couple of times, how many VR Youth Techs are there? Well, I am happy to let you know that currently we have 73 VR Youth Techs identified to work with STAR students. There are still a few offices who have vacant positions, but they are actively, the supervisors are actively seeking people to fill these positions. I know it's been quite the process, and I do want to thank all of you for that. And for the VR Youth Techs who are actually engaged in the work, I thank you very much for all of the hard work you have and the time that you've spent on this process. And I do really appreciate all the questions that I get from you because then that kind of helps me to know where I need to focus in the technical assistance that I do give you. All right, let's do a quick update on district STAR participation. As I mentioned throughout the training already, I've reached out to all of the districts from Baker to Polk just this week. Although I haven't spoken to all of them have received voice messages and then follow-up emails. I do want to also let you know that Bees and the Project 10 RTRs, Regional Transition Representatives, have been brought into the conversation. They're aware, they are on board with helping us to get this going with school districts. So that I'm really happy about. They are actually looking at developing some trainings. I am going to be participating in a ESE director call. I guess they have monthly calls, and I've asked to be put on the agenda, so they're hearing this information. They'll know again, here again, what needs to be done. And this is a call that Monica, the Bees Bureau Chief, puts on, so that is definitely going to be a good thing for us. I do have many calls already scheduled for today, and as I said, we're going to continue working on getting everyone on board, so I'm excited about that. It's kind of funny. The districts who I have spoken to, they're all, when I talk to them, they're like, oh, I'm so glad that I had an opportunity to talk with you. I'm not confused anymore. And I just wish I could get more school districts to, to answer their phone, but we'll get there. So the 3 school districts that have been added, who have added school district representatives, are Gulf, and I always say this wrong, Lafayette, and I know that's not right, so I apologize, but that's how we say it up in New Hampshire, and Polk. So these 3 school districts do have school district representatives, and we're going to keep working to get them, to get more of them on board. And then as far as getting the school districts involved from the local level, I continue to encourage local level staff to have these conversations with your local districts, your local district contacts. So again, they'll be hearing this from me. The administration will be hearing this from me and hearing it from the local level. This will certainly help to get things moving. One way or another, guys, we are going to ensure that all districts are on board and working collaboratively for us to reach our WIOA goals. Determination. I didn't bother changing the slide because I felt it was totally apropos. All right, I want to make sure that STAR can be offered to juniors. Oh, before I get started on that, so there's been some questions and that have come in to me via email. So what I'm going to do is read these questions to you, answer these questions, and then they will be part of the question and answers guide. And then any other questions that have come in today will also be included. So the first question is, I want to be sure that STAR can be offered to juniors and seniors as well as freshmen and sophomores. Somewhere I heard that it can be only offered to freshmen and sophomores, and I just want to be sure. I think we addressed this earlier by the question that came in, but STAR services as well as VR services can be offered to any student 15 through 21. It doesn't matter the grade level. Keep in mind that there might be some 15, 16, 17-year-olds who are in 7th and 8th grade. So that's why we don't necessarily use the grade identifier. But yes, they are available to all students between the ages of 15 and 21. Next question, are you able to tell me if school district representatives have been appointed to our county schools? Again, this was addressed earlier. So if you shoot me an email, I can certainly let you know. But by the end of, I'll say probably by Thanksgiving break, I will have a list developed because I'm really hoping to be able to get with these districts, as many as I can by today and Monday and Tuesday, to get more people listed. But I will get you that list so that you know who your school district representatives are. Another question I received, normally in the transition program, we wait until about the middle of senior year to do a VE, vocational evaluation, if it is appropriate or necessary. If someone is referred to the STAR program at age 15 and the client parents request all services they can get through this program, are we required to automatically sign them up for a VE and all other services? If so, since there isn't a VRC involved, who keeps the vocational evaluation? Okay, so this is a multi-part question. In last week's presentation, I did address the difference between the assessments, and I think I actually put it in the presentation that I gave to you guys. So when it comes to the assessment, the interest inventory and the aptitude assessments are really, I don't want to say they're only or designed for the younger students, but they really are. Those are the assessments that kind of help them to start thinking about what their strengths are, what their abilities are, what are some of their likes and dislikes. So it's to start getting them to think about things. Usually the vocational evaluation or the on-the-job evaluation are used for the older students who have already gone through those kind of preliminary assessments, might have already had their first PPT, their first work experience, but it doesn't have to be that way. So just think about that. I would recommend, and again, you are giving them some guidance and counseling when you meet with these students. I would say to them, in your script that's available, you kind of go through all of those different assessments. I would share with them that these aptitude, interest inventories, skills assessments are mainly for younger students who still have yet to explore themselves, explore their options, explore their interests, explore their abilities. So I would just kind of guide and counsel them to be going that route. If they're definitely interested in that vocational evaluation, they say, no, I don't want to do these other things, then we're going to obviously offer that to them. But we're going to try to counsel them into going the first two assessments. So I need to look at my list. The aptitude and interest assessments. So the second part of the question, are we required to automatically sign them up for, again, it goes back to what they request, even after the guidance and counseling. If that's what they want, then we're going to go ahead and do that. And then the follow-up question, if so, since there isn't a VR counselor involved, who keeps the vocational evaluation? So as we've chatted about before, any assessments, any reports, any documentation that you have on the STAR student, you will be keeping in a file. This could very well be the release or the waiver that you've had signed. It could very well be the reports that you receive from the providers, so the PPT reports or the assessment reports. You're going to want to hold on to those in a folder. And the reason for that is not to just give you more things to have to hold on to, but if at any time that student then decides to apply to VR, that folder can be handed off to the VR counselor, so they have all of that background information, and it will just be helpful for them to, you know, to have that, what the student's done, what they've done, how they've done, those kinds of things. I don't know, and I know a question has been asked before as far as keeping the materials in a locked drawer. If that's what the policy is in your offices and you're going to want to continue doing that, I would think, I mean, when it comes to confidential information like those reports, those evaluations, I would think it would be important to have them under lock and key, and I believe from what I've heard from some of the supervisors that is the requirement. But again, talk to your supervisor, they'll be able to provide you that information. The last question that I received via email is, it is my understanding that when the school districts were trained, it was the top ESE director who received the training. Can you confirm if a school district completed the webinar? Okay, so the invitation that went out in Bs, as well as the invitation that I sent out to school districts, were to the ESE directors and any ESE directors and student support directors. So that would be the directors of the 504s. They were also invited to have anyone else within the district attend, but what I found was typically it was the ESE director and or their transition specialist, so kind of like their second in command. The information that I am sharing with the ESE directors now is, again, with them, and what I've asked them to do is to share the information or share the training with those who will be doing the school district representatives doing the referrals. As I mentioned earlier, I will be doing a follow-up training. That follow-up training will be designed for the school district representatives so that they have some more information and some more resources and supports to help them know the best route for whether it be the STAR referral or whether it be the VR application pathway. We want to make sure that they have that information, and then also how to expedite these referrals on their end so they can make sure that it's not too time consuming and too difficult on their part. Can you confirm if a school district completed the training? Well, yeah, I can certainly let you know if the school district did complete the training. If you have a question, please email me and I can let you know. The next question, which is something I've received from other people, can a new person be delegated to make the assignments from the schools, and if so, can send the paperwork detailing how? So I have been told over and over again that it has to be the ESE director to identify the school district representatives. This came from the Department of Education and we were directed to use the ESE directors because we cannot be, or there shouldn't be, people within the district just assigning different tasks to people. So this is why it needs to be the ESE director, and that's what I'm telling school districts. If a school district ESE director is adamant that they will not, I have been given the option to let them or invite them to write a letter documenting their their reasons behind not being able to complete this task, and then I can submit this on their behalf. Oddly enough, when I share this with ESC directors, they're like, "Oh, no, never mind, I'll do it." But again, that comes from higher ups. It doesn't come from us. So, and according to the law, it has to be that person who's kind of making that determination. So yeah, that's kind of how we've approached that. But if there is someone who is adamant, then I will do my best to try to get that changed. But it's not my decision to do that. Next part of that is I attended a meeting with other school districts yesterday, and they were not understanding that others could not be. Wait a minute. I attended a meeting with other school districts yesterday, and they were on the understanding that others could not be delegated to enter students into the program. Well, again, that's correct, because that's what was shared in the training, and it's what has been stated to them, that it has to be the point of contact that makes the identification of the school district representatives, and it's the school district representatives who make the referrals. All right, let's see if we have any other questions that have come in. Where do we check to see if we are on the list? I'm not sure what you mean by that question. Where do we check to see if we're on the list? What list do you mean? if you can let me know what question, or please explain that a little bit more, and I'm sorry that I don't understand that. All right, let's go on to the next one. Can the youth tech participate in the school SDR training so we can work together smoothly? Of course. Just like with the school district training that we did before, I would be happy to have anyone and everyone involved, because it is definitely helpful for everyone to be hearing the same message, that there's that, that clear message and clear understanding. So yes, of course, I would be happy to invite you, and I will invite you in when that will be held. So I don't know if there's, I'm going to give Ms. Carbon a minute to further explain her question. Well, I don't see anything else coming in, so let me give you an opportunity to please, at this time, if anything that I have reviewed, or anything from last week or the week before, or anything from the materials that I've shared, or any concerns that you come up with, questions that you have, I give you an opportunity to please submit those now, so that I can go through those with you. I have been told that this opportunity, when the sound works, has been very helpful, so I want to continue doing this. As I mentioned, we will be having these sessions on a bi-weekly basis in December and January. I intend to schedule those next week, so hopefully by Tuesday or Wednesday, the latest, you'll have the dates of those sessions. And although I kind of have an agenda planned of things to share with you, this is for you. This is an opportunity for you to be able to have me to, ask questions of and get answers to. But of course, I don't discourage you from sending them through email or calling me with them. It's just if we do it this way, then other people benefit from the questions and answers. Well, it doesn't look like anything else is coming in, so let me just take a second and thank you all, and thank you all very much for your time. I do appreciate you being here, and I do hope that you're finding these sessions helpful and beneficial. Thanks so much, everyone. I'll talk to you next week. Have a great day. Thank you.